Welcome to another episode of the Noles Podcast. I'm your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me and my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. I don't just say that just to say it. Okay? I'm not trying to break news. I'm not trying to be a recruiting guru. Everything I say on my podcast is in my opinion. All right? And I say that again because I had a goofball yesterday that wanted to get on YouTube and say something crazy. I mean, it really didn't bother me, but I'm just trying to let all you listeners know this 99% of this is in my opinion. You know, I said something on a podcast that I wanted the running back Edwards from South Georgia, high school player. Okay, I don't sit here and watch the recruiting, by the second. Okay, he signed with the Georgia Bulldogs last Thursday. I didn't know that because I don't follow that stuff like that. I do National Recruiting Day and all that stuff, but just sitting here and just being a rabid fan following kids around, come on, I'm not going to do that. I'm old enough to be their dad. Why am I going to sit here and follow them like that? No, I'm not going to do that. So, he basically, and I don't know, it's probably some troll from another podcast or another site. I don't know. But he's telling me if I'm going to report stuff, report facts. Like, I'm not reporting anything. I'm just a fan talking about Florida State. And I said I wanted the kid to come to Florida State. I didn't say he was coming. I didn't say he was on campus. I didn't say any of that crap. I just said he would be a nice addition to the running back room. That's all I said. And he acting like I'm saying the guy is coming to Florida State. Like, once again, get a life, man. I'm not going to sit here and follow 17, 18-year-old kids around on the internet or anywhere else. Okay? If they come to Florida State, great. If not, that's fine too. So, now let's get to episode. Today is February 5th, 2020. I got about 5 different segments here that I want to go over. I hope you enjoy it. And let's go ahead and get started. The first segment is entitled Super Bowl Reaction. All right, I've stated many times on this podcast that I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan. We lost. I'm not mad. We all know that Shanahan chokes in big games. I can't put a positive spin on this one. Jimmy G throwing passes with his eyes closed is crazy. We need help on the offensive line. Kansas City defensive line was dominating. Hopefully Lynch and Shanahan can get a true number one receiver. We need better interior linemen. San Francisco 49ers were doing all that celebrating, and it was still like 11 minutes left to go in the game. And that was very disappointing. You can't play cover 3 against Kansas City and Tyreek Hill. It's just not smart. The big plays on defense came in cover 4. Kansas City's run game was getting off a little bit. I'd rather give up 5 or 10 yards than a 40-yard bomb, which is what Tyreek Hill eventually caught. I don't know what the game plan was from the San Francisco side, offense or defense. I know that Richard Sherman couldn't run with any of those receivers. And how he got man-to-man on Sammy Watkins, I'll never know. The running game is what got you to the Super Bowl. You should have just gave the ball to Mostert and just let him run downhill, man. That was pretty much it. I wouldn't have ran cover 3 at all. You got 2 interceptions off of Mahomes in cover 4. So I would have just kept running cover 4, keep everything in front of me, and do the best I could against the run. But at the end of the day, we lost. it is what it is, man. This team went from 6-10, 4-12 to the Super Bowl. So I would say they're way ahead of schedule. So it is what it is. So let me know what you think about that segment. Next, the next segment is entitled Florida State Basketball Review. At the time of this recording, they are 19-3. They beat North Carolina. This team just rolling, man. This team is just rolling along. And here's what I wrote about that. Florida State basketball sits 19-3 right now. They beat North Carolina on February 3rd. I think we can win the ACC. I must admit that I've only watched highlights of this basketball team. I haven't watched the whole game yet. It's just somehow every time they come on, I gotta go to work. Like when they played North Carolina on the 3rd, I was at work. I couldn't watch the game, and hopefully I can sit down and watch a game. From the highlights that I've seen, this team looks very formidable. They could make a deep run into the NCAA tournament. Defense and rebounding always travels well. I noticed no one thought this team would have this record at this time of the season. Leonard Hamilton has to be the ACC Coach of the Year. It's not even close. Honestly, everyone, pundits, thought we would have North Carolina's record and North Carolina would have our record. That's why you play the game. This is a special season, and I hope it continues. Like I said, I hope they make a deep run into the NCAA tournament. 19-3, man. Number 8 in the country as it sits right now. They play, their next game is against Miami on the 8th. I'm not sure if I have to work or not, but it is what it is. Let me know what you think about that segment, man. I want to start talking a little bit more. But I've done a couple of different basketball segments, and just to change it up a little bit. All right. Next segment is 2 Noles got Super Bowl rings. And here's what I wrote about that. Cam Irving and Derek Nandi got Super Bowl rings. 2 Kansas City Chiefs players. Great for them. They are former Florida State players, but honestly, I really don't care. When you're a former Nole and you're not with the 49ers, I will pull for you until you play my boys. There's no silver lining for this Super Bowl loss for the San Francisco 49ers from my end. It's go negative or go home, so I'm just going to go negative. Derek Nandi did the Reggie White hump move on the tackle McGlinchey and sent him into the 3rd row. I don't even remember seeing Cam Irving playing. I don't know if he's a starter or not. Former Noles will always get kudos from me, but when a title is on the line and my boys are there, it's a no-brainer. Also, no Miami Hurricanes were represented in the Super Bowl. So I just wanted to throw that shade a little bit. I'm still a little surly about the loss. Who wouldn't be? I'd rather get blown out than lose the way that we did. It is what it is, man. They're ahead of schedule. Hopefully they can add some pieces and get back next year. So let me know what you think about that segment. Next segment is entitled XFL starts on tomorrow, actually today, February 5th, 2020. And here's what I wrote about that. XFL starts on February 5th, 2020. And who cares? I don't care. I hope these guys make it to the NFL. When you try to reinvent the game of football, it's usually going to be a failure. I hope it's a quality product, unlike the first time. Vince McMahon actually put football guys in charge this time. So it might work. But unless you have billions and billions to burn, history says that any league other than the NFL will fail. Undoubtedly, you will lose money for years before your league becomes profitable. And McMahon may have very deep pockets, but he can't take a loss for years and years. So my prediction, this league will fold either this season or next season. There are several no's in this league, so I wish them success, but other than that, I think it's going to flop. All right, and I'm not being a Debbie Downer here, but, like I said, unless you have just unlimited income, it's going to be very hard to sustain a football league. It just is. You have to get a whole bunch of private investors, the coaches, the general managers. I mean, everybody has to invest for it to be profitable. And, the great thing is that they're not trying to go head to head with the NFL. They're doing it when the NFL is done. That was a smart move, but I just don't like trying to reinvent the game. Okay? Mirror the NFL in terms of the rules and everything. All right, with a couple of tweaks. I've gone over how I would start my league and what kind of rules I would have to make it, better than the NFL. But it really doesn't matter if you don't have like billions and billions and billions and billions to flush down the toilet on a football league. It's a moot point. The percentages of you being profitable in year one are slim to none. You're going to lose money. So, I hope it works out for them. I would love for an alternate league to take off in this country, but history says it's not. All right, so let me know what you think about that segment. The last segment for this episode is entitled The Agony of Defeat for a Fan. And first, before I read what I wrote, it's just anytime your team makes it to a championship game and they lose, it just lingers for like a week or two. It takes a while to get over it, man. So all my family and so-called friends that are making fun of me, don't forget your teams have either lost or they haven't done anything in the last 20 years. So I don't want to hear nothing y'all got to say. So here's what I wrote. The agony of defeat for a fan is a crazy thing. And it only intensifies as you get older. When I was young, I was into so much stuff. I didn't really follow my teams as rapidly as I do now. The internet doesn't help either. You can almost follow every move your team makes up to the second. So when you put all that time and energy into a team and they lose, it is agony. More so with Florida State than San Francisco. No one expected San Francisco to catapult this year, whereas Florida State had they're littered with 4 and 5 stars on their roster. So expectations were a little bit higher than what I had for San Francisco. Are you really a fan if you don't agonize over the losses? I say no, you are not. If you just roll with a team when they win, you're not a true fan. Social media has dubbed it the Kaepernick curse. That's why we can't win the Super Bowl. I don't believe in that. And Patrick Mahomes just killed the Madden curse. So, nobody believes in that stuff, man. So, let me know what you think about that last segment. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify Podcasts. Thank you to all the people that listen every day. I really appreciate it. I can't say thank you enough. And as always, go Noles.